I now call this meeting to order. We were going to have an invocation by Dr. Massaud, but he was not able to make it tonight, so I'm going to ask that Vaughn Sullivan come and lead us in our invocation. I want to also welcome ROTC cadet Brandon Tabor. He's a junior from Carl Albert High School. Y'all can... He's a junior from Carl Albert. He plans to go to college and join the United States Navy once he... any Navy vets? Okay, so with that being said, Vaughn, could you lead us in our invocation? Could you please stand and remain standing for the pledge?
Would you bow with me, please? Father God, giver of life, sustainer of life, we come before your throne this evening with humble hearts. Father, we're thankful for the blessing of this great nation, this state of Oklahoma, and this great community that we love, Midwest City. Father, we thank you for the men and women who are around this horseshoe tonight, Lord, and their willingness to serve in this capacity, the sacrifices that they're making and their families are making. Father, we ask your blessing of discernment and wisdom be upon them tonight. They have many decisions before them that I just ask that your will be done. We thank you for men and women who are all over the world sacrificing this evening to preserve the freedoms that we enjoy in this great land. Protect them, give them peace and comfort in their families while they're away. Ultimately, Lord, we thank you for the sacrifice that you made by sending your Son to the cross. We thank you for the blood that was shed. In his name we pray. Amen.
Please join me now for the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, and you may be seated. If you notice on your agendas, we had a proclamation to do in remembrance of Assistant Chief Reese Morrison, who passed away several weeks ago. His family was not able to attend tonight, so we'll be pushing that proclamation reading to our next council meeting. For the sake of time, we will be recessing the council.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor. I have just one quick community announcement, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Tomorrow at Black Bear Diner from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. will be the Badges and Bears, where police officers from Midwest City as well as Oklahoma City will be serving breakfast to anybody who wants to go out and purchase breakfast for tips. The money will all benefit Special Olympics. So if you're able, if you would please support this worthy cause tomorrow morning from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. at Black Bear Diner. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other community announcements? Hearing none, I now call to order the Midwest City Memorial Hospital Authority. We have several discussion items. And item number 1.
This would be approval of the staff briefing and the minutes from the February 27th, 18 meeting.
Move to approve.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions. Next item.
This is discussion consideration of accepting the Hospital Authority Investment Performance Review for the period ending December 31st, 2017, and action to reallocate assets, change fund managers, or to make fund changes in the Statement of Investment Policy Guidelines and Objectives.
Move to accept.
I have a motion. Second. I have a second. Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Next discussion item.
This is discussion and consideration of taking action on the following Midwest City Memorial Hospital Authority Trust Board of Grantors grant application recommendations.
Make a motion to accept and pass. Approve it.
I have a motion and a second to pass all recommendations. Any further discussions? Any further discussions? Hearing none. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Next item?
We want to go to the addendum. We want to do the addendum.
The addendum.
That's correct. Let me get to it.
Did we go faster than Guy?
I'm sorry, what?
Did we go faster than you?
No, it's in another spot, yeah, okay, thank you. We have an addendum that we would like to have the council act on first, which is discussion and consideration of supplemental budget adjustment to the Hospital Authority Fund for FY 2017-2018, increase Hospital Authority Fund expenses / Hospital Authority by $90,000. The supplement is associated with an increase of the appropriation for the Hospital Authority grants for 2017-2018.
Make a motion to approve.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Next item.
The next item is discussion consideration of approving an agreement with Midwest City High School Museum, Inc. to provide up to $90,000 in matching funds from the fund balance of the Hospital Authority discretionary fund for the purpose of assisting in the construction of the Vietnam Memorial at Midwest City High School.
I want to make clear, this is coming from the ROI, which is the same thing that the Board of Grantors did. We are not taking money from any discretionary funds or anything else like that. This is the proper way to do this, was from the money from the return on the investment, which we can do up to 2% for grants every year. And we always have a little bit of a leeway in that fund in case something comes up, but at no times are those discretionary funds to ever be touched for anything other than economic development.
So noted, Councilman Reed.
Move to approve.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this item? Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Wait a second, Sherry has something to say.
Yes, ma'am. This means that nothing will be coming back to the Board of Grantors.
Okay, that was my question. This
Yeah.
will come back to the board.
No,
No, you're
No.
done. You've done your job, and thank you very much.
he didn't mean you're done. He meant you're done with.
Your job is done for this year, Sherry. I'm sorry.
Well, almost, but,
Almost.
okay, that's not the way I understood
Yes.
reading the rules.
There
but-
was a
Attorney's opinion.
attorney's opinion that allowed us to go forward with this without getting the Board of Grantors back involved in the whole process, as we discussed the other day.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
But you're not done.
By any means, you've got 2 more years to serve. I'm sorry. So, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, I do want to tell you that this has been an arduous process. Obviously, we have to make sure that we remain in the law and that we do what's right, not only for everybody concerned, but also for the city. And so, unless you really don't have a life and you want to stay here for the rest of this meeting, everybody that's here for the Board of Grantors and the Vietnam Memorial, you are hereby excused. Thank you for being here, and thank you for packing the house.
Thank you.
Now we move into the new business public discussion of the hospital authority. Is there anybody that has anything to bring on board of trustees to the hospital authority? Does anyone have anything to bring before the hospital board of trustees?
You guys were so fast. I barely had, oh, my name is Nancy Rice. I live at 1307 Pine Ridge Road, Midwest City, and I'm on the board. I'm on the board of Grand Tours.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's been a privilege for me to serve during the past years, where we've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to benefit our police, fire departments. Our allocations have contributed to equipment unavailable to other cities, and we're proud of the many, many dollars that we've allocated to city projects. You can't hardly drive around the city without seeing something like, we contributed to that fence, we contributed to that memorial, and I just appreciate the fact that you didn't choose to amend any of what we put forth to you tonight. Speaking to the Vietnam Memorial Project, it was last on our list, and I didn't notice the $90,000 on your agenda. Was there an addendum to the agenda that we didn't get? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyway, and I'm glad you didn't send it back to us and took care of that. But one of our concerns is that we already have a gorgeous Veterans Monument on Douglas. And one of the reasons it was put there is for community access. Putting something on a high school pretty much means that people can't go to it during the day. And that was just one of the things that we're certainly appreciative of all of our Vietnam folks, our Korean folks, our both World War folks, and we could see putting a some sort of monument or plaque recommending their service at the existing Veterans Memorial on Douglas. And well, I think pretty much everything I was going to say, you've caught me by surprise, and I want to thank you for that, really. So keep up your good work, and just wanted to kind of explain a little bit
Yes, ma'am.
why we did what we did.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
your service on that board.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Does anyone else in the audience have anything to bring before the Board of Trustees on the Hospital Authority? Hearing none, we are hereby adjourned, and I'll call back to order the Midwest City Council and move into the consent agenda.
These items are placed on the consent agenda as the council by unanimous consent can approve routine agenda items by one motion. If any item proposed does not meet with the approval of all council or members of the audience wish to discuss an item, it will be removed and heard in a regular order.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Go into our discussion items.
This is, the first item is discussion consideration of accepting an update regarding ongoing OG&E street lighting maintenance issues. You have a report provided to you by Vaughn Sullivan, which details their work in the last 4 weeks in working with OG&E on trying to address not only existing lighting issues in neighborhoods and along arterial streets, but also addresses the issue of further rollout of additional lighting throughout the city. So we would recommend that we bring an item back to you all in 90 days or within the 3 months to give you a supplemental update as to the work that's being accomplished.
Yes, well, I need a motion to accept the report as given upstairs.
Move to accept the report as delivered in pre-council.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. Next item of discussion.
Hey, Matt, one other,
I'm s-
we're gonna put something on the website.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll have to, we'll wordsmith on it.
One thing gets.
Yes, sir. Next item is PC 1932, discussion consideration of approval of the proposed final plat of Turtlewood 6th Edition for the property described as a part of the southeast quarter of Section 7, Township 11 North, Range 1 West. This item was continued from the February 27th meeting. I'd go ahead and defer a little bit to the city attorney to give you some additional information about the long-term covenants and restrictions associated with the homeowners association and the stormwater holding facilities.
At the last council meeting, I know there were questions and concerns about the property owners living to the west of the Turtlewood 6 addition, concerned about flooding problem issues from the retaining pond and construction materials. And the position was that the developer is responsible for that until it's overtaken by those responsibilities by the homeowners association. Then there was concerns about making sure that the homeowners association had certain covenants in there that held them responsible for those retention ponds, to maintain them, taking care of drainages and things of that nature. So the developer agreed to have his attorney contact me, and he did, David Box. David Box and I talked about some things. He sent me the original covenants that went with that property, and I felt like there could be more protection in there for the city and for the property owners to the west of that property. So he asked me to write up what I would want for the city and for the property owners to the west who were suffering some flooding issues. And I told him, he advised he would get with his clients, the developers, and see if they would agree to that. And I can tell you, they agreed to a lot more than what they had to. The Turtlewood Edition was not subject to the 2012 requirements that certain things are in the homeowners association holding them responsible. But their attorney agreed and the developer agreed to the language that I wanted to put in there. And I can tell the court the language that was added gives the city protection. It gives the city authority. They have to indemnify the city. The city has a right to go in there and enforce covenants on the homeowners association. They have a right to take action or no action. They have a right to take action where if there is a flooding issue and the homeowners don't take care of it, the city can go ahead and do those repairs and take care of it, and then place liens on the homeowners association's property. So that was my assignment that the council gave me, is to make sure that when this homeowners association takes it over from the developer, and the developer is no longer liable for those issues, that someone still is. And it is my legal opinion, with them adding the language I asked for in 6.9, which is the City of Midwest City beneficiary, and 6.10, right and responsibilities within the common areas, that it affords all the protections that the citizens were concerned about at the last meeting. So I would say that if the city is going to approve that plat, that a motion be made to where when the approval of the plat is in, is that these covenants that they have submitted to me is part of that approval, that is what will be executed and signed in agreement with the homeowners association.
Can I ask
I
a
wanna
question on a
just-
side note, because your verbiage is so good? How do we incorporate this into all of our HOA agreements going forward?
Well, it's easy on all the ones going forward, because all of them are subject to the 2012 requirements we have for a homeowners association that dictates that they must indemnify the city, hold the city harmless, that the homeowners association is responsible for ponds and the upkeep of the common area. The unique situation we had with the Turtle Wood Edition was it didn't apply to them. And so really it took talking and negotiating with their attorney and then their attorney getting the developer to agree. And so he made agreements he didn't have to give the city the protections and the proper protection that we wanted in there. And they cooperated in everything I asked.
I want to compliment our city attorney on his efforts. I made this ask for the city attorney, Mr. Anderson, to speak with counsel for the developer, and I appreciate both of those attorneys getting together and coming to a resolution that does protect the city from liability in this situation. So I want to thank you and commend you and Mr. Box both on this. That being said, I am aware from pre-council that we have some folks that wish to address on this issue.
We do have
so-
a parliamentary issue and it's going to have to do with the Open Meetings Act. Ladies and gentlemen,
Can I ask
we-
a question, because I
Yes.
know where you're going? Since you've changed that homeowner's deal, and we're comfortable with that going forward, is there any way possible that, because late today, I became aware of really close by there, a very similar deal. Is there gonna be any way that we as a group, or the city, or however, can make sure that there isn't drainage problems that aren't being taken care of, can be taken care of? Or is that gonna have to go a different way?
Well, first of all, I think it has to be papered up for a council meeting where it's on the agenda, because that's not on the agenda. I guess in public discussion, they could bring it up.
Yes, sir.
But to address anything, it would need to be written up and put on an agenda. And yes, I mean, you can give me some direction. Again, what we're dealing with on Turtle Ward 6 is they had to have a plat approved. And so we were making this all conditioned on us approving the plat. It's my understanding, talking to somebody from the other group, that plat's already been approved. However, they tell me they don't have a homeowners association yet. So I would not mind if the council wants me to meet with those citizens from the old Turtle Wood to see if we can find a solution. I'm willing to meet with them, get all the facts, and then do some research and see what we can do.
ladies and gentlemen, what we have here is we've got two separate issues. And the second issue didn't come to light until after the agenda was already printed. Under the open meeting law, we can't actively engage into a discussion with you on that second issue. So let us, and you'll have to come down during the public discussion portion of our agenda to address these issues. And then we can address staff to make it an agenda item for our next council meeting. So let us, I'm sorry? That is, since, unfortunately, since, like we discussed upstairs, you're living in a plat that has already been approved and moving forward, this is going to be a separate issue. But yes, during public discussion, you can make your points known. So let us dispose of the first issue, and then I'll get you down front. And again, I have to remind you that during public discussion on non-agenda items, the council cannot engage in an active conversation with you unless it's an agenda item. But we will make note of your comments, and we will direct staff to act accordingly. So let me dispose of the first issue first.
Wait, Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, I have a clarification question.
Yes, ma'am.
The gentleman who just spoke from the audience, my understanding upstairs, and maybe I'm the one who's confused here, which wouldn't surprise me at all, but my understanding was the reason why he wished to address council was because this new platted area that we're looking to approve will also have an impact as to drainage with regard to an already existing drainage
Again,
pond on their side.
they're in a plat that's already been approved.
Yeah, but
And
his-
we cannot go back and
No,
retroactively.
we can't, but I think she's right. He's concerned that what we're doing here tonight with this is going to impact what they have.
I get that.
And so he should be allowed to speak to the impact.
Well, we're not going to, not allow him to speak, but we still have to dispose of the first issue before we can go into the second issue. Does that make sense?
And that was my understanding and recommendation. It's not on the agenda. I think we need to go ahead and take action and vote on the plat that's before us. And then if he wants an open session, because it's not on the agenda, he can speak. There can't be interaction back and forth. And that's why I suggested if you want him to speak, one, but you have to paper it and get on the agenda to take any
But
action.
here's what I don't understand. If he is trying to discuss how what we're doing now is going to impact
Right,
what our vote right here
right.
is going to impact their neighborhood, why does he not have a right to speak?
Oh,
to
he-
what
he does.
we're-
He
No,
has
no,
full
no,
right.
not right now, not in new business, because he's discussing how this is going to impact, and Pat has been very, very cognizant about how water affects people downstream, not really stream, but
As
down
all of us.
elevation. I know, I didn't mean to just signal one of us out, but this has been one of his things. I don't understand why, since he's concerned that what this is going to do is going to affect them, why he shouldn't be able to be allowed to speak to this and ask questions.
Well, he can speak to this issue. I haven't heard anything, and I don't know if the council has anything that he's brought forward to show that it does have an impact on there.
He said up there that, so I don't know if it does or not, but if he
I don't
thinks
either.
that it does and he has a concern about what this is gonna do, I think he has every right to speak.
Well,
Okay.
let's, I've got two people that do want to speak on the first issue. Let me get them down here, and then we'll bring him down here, and then we'll make we'll go from there.
Okay.
How's that? Is that acceptable, Mr. Attorney?
Yeah, that's fine. It's just that it was, I guess I had a misunderstanding what he was saying upstairs. I just thought he was telling me that they also have that kind of problem with the pond over there in that Turtlewood addition. I did not get from that it had anything to do with this Turtlewood addition. So, I mean, if you
Well,
got
it's in
some
a-
different information, then I just wasn't aware of that.
Well, if we glean information, then we'll move forward, and if we don't, then we'll keep it under public discussion.
Sorry, I forget about these darn things. It's his right to prove to us whether or not he has something to talk about this, or he needs to come back to new
We'll get him
business.
down, we'll get him down front.
Yeah, I agree with that. Upstairs, I just thought heard him talking about the old Turtlewood, and they also had pond issues. I told him I was willing to talk to them, try to get those resolved. I did not get that this one had any, if it does, he would have a right to speak on this subject.
That was the last thing that I think Susan and I both heard him say, and we were down on that end. So he was sitting right behind me, and
Okay.
we do get a little loud up there at times, was that he was concerned about what this was gonna do.
If he has something to say about this
Am
Turtlewood.
I quoting you correctly, sir?
Yeah, and so if he has comments about this Turtlewood edition, what the council's about ready to vote on, then yes, he would be able to speak to that issue.
With that being said, and keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, we have to maintain the law, and we have to, and anything we do outside the law negates everything we do on the horseshoes. So, with that being said, Mr. Peeler, do you have anything to address the council? Are you here? Mr. Earl? All right, sir.
John Earl, 2305 South Webster Drive, Midwest City. First of all, this Section 6, this homeowners association for Section 6, well, that's 1/3 of the problem, because Section 5 is draining all the water down to that retention pond also.
But the Section 5 has already been done and taken care of. That's
It's
what,
not-
hang on a second. That's what we went just back with that gentleman right there. We can discuss Section 6, because that's the area that you've got that's running onto yours.
What about Section 7?
That hasn't even been platted yet, has it?
Oh, no.
The only
but
thing
we're-
before the council right now on this issue is approving the plat for Turtlewood 6. It has nothing to do with Turtlewood 5, it has nothing to do with Turtlewood 6. 7, it's Turtlewood 6, and this is what we're talking about, is either approving that plat for Turtlewood 6 or not. And so if you're saying there's some flooding issues with Turtlewood 5, that's not up for discussion right now. It's Turtlewood 6 plat, do we approve it or not, and has it been remedied? In my legal opinion, it has been, the issues that we had.
And those were the issues that you brought up last council meeting, Mr. Earl, with
Well,
the
first
with the
of all-
covenants.
I'm sorry. First of all, Section 6, homeowners association, they're not gonna be able to bring all this money. Is it fair to them to put up all the money and Section 5 is draining the water in the same pond?
Yes, sir, it actually is fair for the simple fact that every single buyer in that area is gonna have the opportunity to read this before they sign. They're gonna know exactly what they're if they choose not to read it, that's not our problem. They have the opportunity to read this, and you should read every single thing that you sign on a closing document, and an HOA is one of those things that you read. You should read every single page of this. If you later come back and say, well, I didn't know what I signed, that's not on the developer, that's not on us, that's not on anybody else, but that's on the people who bought, and they are going to know from reading this that they're responsible for that.
But you don't think there's gonna be animosity between the homeowners associations over there?
They're all separate portions. And I mean, again, there is a governing document. They're not. Then these guys moving into it are gonna have this document, and then 7 probably will have the same document when it comes up, and they're gonna know it. We're under new HOA guidelines, correct?
Yeah, Turtlewood is not obligated to meet the 2012 requirements, which is being responsible for the ponds and doing these. They're not even required to have a homeowners association covenants. The covenants that has been agreed upon was pursuant to the 2012, and the developer and their attorney agreed to do that on this for this Turtlewood 6 plat, which it will go and run with that land. These covenants will be, and that's what we're talking about, putting them with the replat. Something's already been replatted. That's not before us. We don't have control of the replatting right now. The only thing before the council now is Turtlewood 6. That's what we're addressing. The flooding issues, the complaints that he had about coming over the property. Who does he go to see? The developer, until it's turned over to the homeowners association. And we've incorporated rules into the homeowners association that they will be responsible for once they accept the covenants. The covenants will be received by all the homeowners. I'm assuming it's something they vote on, and then it's released from the developer. Talk about funds. I also reviewed this. Is there going to be money there to take care of their obligations? And it is. They've talked about the fees and the homeowners' fees and things they collect. They also have the authority to the homeowners association has the authority to charge additional funds for things like if you had to have your street recovered or whatever. The homeowners association can split that cost up and put that with the homeowners. It's to their benefit. So the homeowners association that's going to have these covenants when they review, they get to review them before they sign it. People who's buying property gets to review these. And the issues you brought up is the issues I was concerned about, is the issues I negotiated with their attorney, and they agreed to put in here, although they were not obligated to, because they're not, they don't have to answer the 2012. Am I correct? That was all, their plat was before that, correct?
Well, under the new ordinance, under the new subdivision regulations, we are required to look at them. Under the old ones, we weren't required to look at them.
Right.
Well, what if water is flowing from Section 5 into Section 6? Who's liable then?
Well, I
Going
would
down
guess-
to the
I would
pond.
guess the homeowners of Section 5. The city's not involved in that. You were talking about someone to go to. Who's going to be responsible? Who do we go to when this developer finishes up and takes off. And what I'm telling you is at least right now, the homeowners association, the covenants that's gonna run with the Turtlewood 6 edition, they're gonna be responsible for all ponds and for drainages. They're responsible for all that. And if it needs repairs, they need to repair it. In these covenants, it also allows that if they don't, the city can go in there and repair it and take care of the flooding issues, and then charge them and follow them on their property to pay the city back for that money, because the city's not obligated to make those repairs.
Because where it curves up on top by Section 6, the water is flowing north into Section 6. So why is Section 6 Homeowners Association taking up the liability of Section 5 then right there? I can't understand that.
Mr. Earl, we've kind of when you and Mr. Peeler have come before council, last several council meetings, we've addressed the issues that you brought for us, and including getting language in the covenants of the HOA to cover what you brought before council, and we've done that. Let me make a suggestion and ask the gentleman that's here for Turtlewood 5 to come down, and you have a seat for a minute and let him add to this and see if we can glean some additional information so we can move forward on this.
All right, my name's Mark Casson. I live at 2342 Shell Drive. I'm actually in Turtlewood too, but we, the Turtlewood community, consider us all Turtlewood. There's no 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We all anticipate, right? Raise your hand if you're with Turtlewood. We've got a lot of representation here. We're all going to be inheriting one HOA that includes all 8 sections when you finally plat the whole Turtlewood development. Okay? So there's 160 people, homeowners in that neighborhood right now. I guess this new plat adds 50 or 60 more. So what we're trying to say is that that pond right now, the new one that's in plat 6 is not designed properly. We do not believe it's designed properly. The wording you're putting in there takes the blame off of everyone who had any say in the design of that pond. He doesn't have a say in the design of that pond. The developer does. The city of Midwest City does. So you shouldn't put it on the HOA if that pond's not designed properly. And he's saying his property's still getting flooded. That tells me it's not being designed properly. The other pond that we're all concerned about and that we're really here for we urge you not to approve this new plat until the developer takes care of the other one that doesn't work properly.
Mark, legally, we can't do that because that plat, each section of a development is brought before the council, brought before city or community development, and approved in each section.
Well, we want you to approve it eventually.
Retroactively go back I mean, there's no legal remedy that we could offer you to go back and fix that problem that's on a plat that's already been approved and basically completed. The only thing we can do is move forward and try to correct the problems as we see them. So my question to you, Mr. Anderson, is that with the addition of the new language in the covenants, if they're all one HOA, is that retroactively go into all the covenants? Or is it just for 6 and 7?
If it's just a 650 homeowners going to pay for that
I mean,
pond?
if it's all,
Ooh,
if
that's
it's
gonna be-
all one HOA,
But we couldn't go back and retroactively make those hundreds of something homeowners pay for this. This only covers 50 new homes, right?
Well, no, I disagree with that. These covenants, if once the developers are through with these projects and it goes, the covenants then run with the property and it goes to the homeowners association. I wasn't aware that there wasn't one already for the
not
other
one.
sections. So yes, when they get their occupancy done, then it goes to the homeowners association, and the homeowners association becomes responsible.
So, hang on a second, so we're retroactively making 150 homeowners responsible for?
We're not retroactive doing anything. What we're saying is the covenants that they want to go into a homeowners association, whether it's just for Turtlewood 6 or for the Turtlewood addition, it didn't have coverage that was required and needed. And so these covenants now that we looked at would give, and keep in mind, this all came up in complaint. We didn't hear anything from Turtlewood, from anybody. All we have was the property owners to the west. That's the only thing that was brought before this council. It was the only thing that I was told to address with their attorney. Now, and this is like the third or fourth time we've had this about Turtlewood 6, now all of a sudden we got someone else coming from another Turtlewood edition, wanting us to hold up this Turtlewood 6 to resolve their issues. And the whole point of this, when we were talking about, because the property was saying, well, who do we go to correct this? And right now, they can go to the developer and sue him or do whatever they want. And if they haven't been, have a homeowners association and haven't approved that, they can also sue the developer. The whole question is, who do we go to? But right now, until a homeowners association is established and accepts responsibility for the common area, the developer's responsible for it. The question I had, or was posed to me, is, well, what happens once they get to that certain completion, and if it's still flooding issues, but it goes to the homeowners association, are they gonna pay for our damage? This was the property owners to the east, is not part of the Turtlewood.
Let me, Mark,
Yes, sir.
have you guys, as a homeowner association, accepted?
Yeah, so first of all, we're not a homeowners association. We are just the Turtlewood
It-
residents right now.
Okay, so
Okay.
the HOA has not been
formed.
developed. Did you?
The HOA administrator tried to form it actually in 2 days. He canceled it because of our concerns that it has a negative balance on the account. He was gonna hand it to, his end of 2017, it had a $30,000 in the hole balance, the HOA fund. The erosion problems of that current pond are causing skyrocketing costs to the HOA fund. The erosion, the fence is falling down, the retaining wall, which was made of wood, is rotting out. The whole design, the steep walls of the pond, which you have also at the other one, is eroding away. I'm getting into new business, I'm sorry, but
I got a question
I
for you.
think I'm getting.
There is an HOA,
It's owned by the
but there's an
developer.
HOA.
It hasn't been turned over to the
To the
homeowners as of
We
yet.
have no say.
I misunderstood you, where I thought you said that there was no
Oh,
HOA, and they
so
tried to
there's-
establish one.
So, Mr. Anderson,
Has not
given
been
that
turned over.
information and what we've worked on, the developer is still responsible until that homeowners association is turned over to the
The
homeowners.
developer's responsible, he owns that property until it's turned over to a homeowners association.
But he's using our funds to pay for the fixes of that pond.
Okay.
He's gonna do the same thing for that pond also when it starts having problems.
That sounds like a civil issue, something that we don't get
Well,
involved in.
And that's what I was gonna say. Obviously, and that's what and we're trying to resolve the issue for the property owners to the west of the Turtlewood addition. And the question was, well, how do we get this resolved and who do we go to? The city doesn't have any part in that addition. That is.
You're
that-
approving the design, right?
We're
Am I wrong?
approving.
Do I not understand
We're
that?
approving the plat for Turtle 6 and, all right?
Yes.
The other ones have already been approved. I don't know if you came up then and
Then you have a
explained the
liability?
problems. What I'm telling you is this, what we tried to resolve last time when I was asked to do the research is, who's responsible? In other words, civilly, who do you go after if it isn't done right and you say it's falling apart? You have the developer you can sue and go after to get that corrected. The property owners to the east, they can do the same thing. They can sue the developer until it's turned to a homeowners association. Then their concern was, well, what about the homeowners association? Are they gonna be responsible for it? And that's why I required certain things to be put in the covenants so that whenever homeowners do take over it, there are owners then at that time responsible for the common areas, so they would be responsible. That's how it works.
They had no say in the design of that pond, though.
Well,
And if it's currently
again, you're
flooding-
talking a civil matter. If you'd have a disagreement with the developer, you have a right to take them to court or whatever you want to do, but that's your process. is to go, to take the developer through court if you want. If he's not abiding by the rules or he's not taking care of things like he should, that's who you go to.
Hold up one sec.
Yes, sir.
Jeff Moore's out of town. He called me today and asked me to go out there and look, and I did. I went out there and walked the whole pond. And what he's describing, I saw. The erosion, the rotted wood, the whole bit. Since, hold up, okay?
Hold up.
And there was somebody out there that was scraping and moving some dirt. Since it is, I know we're talking about two different ordinances prior to 2012 and after 2012. Are there ordinances that we as a city could look at to see if there is any violation of city ordinances that are currently in effect now? To see
Mr.
if there's any
Councilman,
see if, well, that's what I don't know who to ask, one of you three.
I'd like to say, if the eastern pond, that facility is substandard, it's not functioning correctly, if there's erosion, if there's any damage to it, the owner still does own that facility. It's a private facility, and they have the responsibility to take care of it or bring it back up to code. If they're not meeting that, we have our different actionable departments that can go out, cite them, and have them in front of the judge to make sure it's brought back up to code.
Mr. Henson, can we have our staff, whoever it may be, because I think that may be step one.
Absolutely.
And to add to that, I mean, just because we didn't review them before, the other phases of this, whether it's phase 1, 2, or 3, it's either the developer or the homeowners association that's responsible for it.
Since they're saying the homeowners association does not exist.
They haven't even been established yet.
So
Right,
now it's
right.
developed. So we have a mechanism that, yes, I understand part of it's going to be civil, but we have a mechanism that may be able to help bring it up to code and keep it from ending up into a dispute in civil court.
Right, so when we'd go out to inspect it, I heard there was litter and growth and all these things out there. So depending on which department it fell under, they'd either visit with the homeowners association or the developer as to which one to do that. And the developer's here to answer a lot of these questions too.
Yeah, the developer's been responsible for maintaining that pond since day one. Homeowners had no say in what's done to that pond. All the erosion that's there had nothing to do with the homeowners. We don't mow it. We don't pay somebody to mow it. He does through the HOA fund, but he determines when it's done. It's his negligence that has resulted in that erosion.
Well, once you have a responsibility as, I mean, I'm assuming that when you bought your homes that you were made aware that an HOA was going to be formed. Am I correct in assuming that?
Yeah.
Because I was involved in an HOA once myself, and it was fully disclosed.
Yep.
And we were in the transition process when the developer was turning it over to us as a group, and we had a fiduciary responsibility to ensure that there were sufficient funds in that to maintain and go forward.
Yeah.
So you have a responsibility as a group of homeowners to make, if he's got a negative balance, then he's going to have to make that good, or you guys don't accept the HOA.
He's going to charge us. If we don't accept the HOA, he charges us by increasing our HOA fee, yearly
How,
annual fee.
just satisfy my curiosity, how much do you pay in HOA fees?
It's $250. It was raised from $200. He arbitrarily rose it $50 over this past year when he's only supposed to raise it no more
Now,
than
do
10%.
you pay that through your escrow, or do you just write a check?
I wrote a check. Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Ms. Eads.
So to try to keep our issues narrowly construed for what's at hand right at the moment,
Yes, ma'am.
do you, sir, believe that there is drainage that occurs other than on what I'm going to refer to as the 6th that comes through 6 and will affect the new retention pond that is being proposed?
I'm not quite sure of your question. Of course, there's water going to be coming from up top essentially it's a hill, and there's two retaining ponds on
Well,
either side of the hill.
Okay, and bear with me, okay? And Pat, you've been out there, jump in here anytime if you can help me, okay? But I understand that there is another detention pond to the east, correct?
Yes, ma'am, that's right.
I'm sorry? Retention pond, I'm sorry, okay, to
Well,
the
it's
east.
kind of detention pond. I think it's a combination pond.
Pish posh, there's a pond to the east, right?
ma'am.
Can we agree? Okay. And now we're talking about a pond to the west that's part of the Turtlewood 6 proposal to deal with drainage issues.
Yes.
Okay. What I want to know from you, from the folks in the audience, et cetera, is there drainage coming off of Turtlewood 1 through 5? Because I understand they're all to the east, correct? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes.
Okay, so, and from, when I look at the arrows, I see it looks like that outside what I believe is the area of Turtlewood 6, there's arrows coming on across, right? So there's drainage that comes from other parcels across 6 and goes into what is the new pond to the west, correct?
Yes.
So, you folks that are here from Turtlewoods 1 through 5, you have a drainage right that's gonna run across 6 and go into that western pond, correct?
Yes, those that would be in 5. So I don't know exactly where the lines are,
Uh-huh.
but some are going into the east pond and some is going into the west pond.
To the west pond, okay. And,
Yeah, but to refocus scope, section 6 only develop, or it drains to the west pond. There are portions of the previous sections that will drain to the west pond, but for the most part, that goes to the east into the existing facilities.
so bear with me, so these folks have a concern then in terms of the size and volume that the west pond can hold or process, do they not?
Yes, they do. But again, it drains to the west and then continues to the west through the the unplatted areas. It does not have a flow through the existing eastern pond or the eastern sections of Turtlewood.
But is the eastern, can I finish that one?
Yeah,
just
I'm
real quick? Sorry. Is the eastern pond the same size as the western pond?
No.
If you know.
It's a larger facility, but they're not the same size. No, it's a smaller facility, volume-wise.
So, Patrick, does any of the water that is accumulated into the east detention pond, does any of that get released and ultimately lands in the Turtlewood 6 detention pond?
No, sir.
Ma'am, we're not, If you
We've
wanna
got to be
come
very
up and-
careful. If you want to address the council, you need to come up and let's do this properly, ladies and gentlemen, please. And once again, Mark, we are
Yes, Mayor.
we are getting into new business, and
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
we're going to have to handle this in a different manner.
Okay.
So what I'm going to have to ask you to do is step away from the podium right now and let Mr. Earl finish it, and we can finish that. And then, under new business public discussion, what we need to do is get you up here, again, anybody else that wants to address the council, and then we're going to have to, what we call, paper this up and bring it back before council as an agenda item to discuss it. Now, I can't sit here in good faith and tell you that there's anything that the city of Midwest City can do about already pre-existing condition on a plat that's already been platted and almost fully developed. But we will hear your issues. We will hear your issues and try to, the best we can, address them.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. We'll come back.
That's just the way the law is.
I think you're selling us short, Matt, because I think we can help them by.
Well, I mean, we do have remedies but I can't promise you that. I would be imprudent for me to sit up here and promise you. We do have remedies. We just have to look at them and make sure they. Sure. So, Mark, if you would, endure us a little bit. Mr. Earl, you have anything else to bring before the council?
Thank you, Mayor.
I want to be, I'm confused on, is there going to be one homeowners association for the whole Turtle Ward additions?
Well,
Five,
we don't
six?
know. We don't know. We're gonna have to get that clarified. But right now, the one that directly affects you and Bo Peeler, they have language in their covenants that's going to address the issues that you brought before council last council. So with the maintenance, the mowing, the trash, everything else, so that's been addressed. And we have remedies to address those. They're in the covenants and also through our ordinances. So with that being said, is there any new information that you have for us?
No, I just want to thank Billy and Patrick for meeting with Bo and I yesterday. I think it was very informative, you know, and a lot of
Thank you, sir.
discussion, and
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Earl. We appreciate it.
thanks, council.
So that being said, the chair would entertain a motion on this particular discussion item. Oh. Didn't see you back there, Bo.
That's okay, man. I put my name on that list too. There's a
Okay, go ahead and your name and address and all that.
Bo Peeler, 2302 South Webster Drive, Midwest City. There's a major issue here, obviously, that needs to be looked at holistically, and I hope that y'all will do that when the time's right to do that.
Yes, sir.
There's been a lot of talk about sins of the past, and in these meetings, I know we've talked about, not wanting to approve things that cost the city down the road, but, one of the things and the points, and it's not new information necessarily for what the item is here, but I do want to point out that property owners and homeowners, if we need to make a designation, we're at the mercy of our governance structure and the approval process and the engineering and and the staff and on that the city has. And these things can, as it's obviously done, get out of control pretty quickly and cost a lot of money to a lot of people. We did, for Section 6, bring up the homeowners association issue last council meeting, because we knew when it was handed over to them that they would then be responsible for maintaining the pond that is flooding our properties. We knew also that that's very, 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 very expensive. And I hope that the homeowners association dues aren't more than their house payments to take care of this. If they're going to escrow the kind of money they're going to have to escrow. So that's a concern of mine, and I think that there has been a lot of disclosure issues that, actually haven't been disclosed as those folks have bought homes, it sounds like. Back to my issue and John's issue and Dale Sledge's issue. As John mentioned, Billy and Patrick and I sat down yesterday, and I do appreciate them, and Billy reached out and asked for that meeting to go over the current drawings. I'm not a lawyer, engineer, and all that stuff. I do think we still have work cut out on that HOA language, to digress just one second, only because in the future, erosion happens with the rain. There's going to be problems the way it's currently designed. And for me to ask those homeowners that have their money in their association to fix something that's affecting my property, and I don't live in Turtlewood, I don't think that vote's going to go in my favor when it comes time for them. Not that they're bad people, but they're going to take care of their addition, not my property. So when I ask them to spend money to fix something in the future, I don't have a lot of confidence that that vote's going to go in John and Dale and I's favor. And then back to this drawing, I went on record and was a long time ago suggesting that pond get designed longer. I acknowledge saying that, but I never said that I didn't want to eliminate the erosion possibilities in the future at the very back. I've offered an easement, and I think that's something that needs to be considered in the future. As far as the current design, if it gets approved, the drain that comes onto my property, if it's not, I still want it removed, but if it's not, it needs to be raised significantly to where the water doesn't come across there like I showed you last time. I just, you know, and one of the things I asked yesterday in our meeting of Patrick is if they would enforce and double check and triple check the elevation changes as they move those pipes around to ensure that. And that was confirmed that it would be done by the city. But you got to remember, they're still draining, and their design is still draining onto private property. And then, you know, one of the things I mentioned too was that it's almost like a shell game, this approval process. You know, they only show you the little section or the portions. Where's the holistic master drawing and plan that shows where everything's going to go? Because like I said last time, you know, that other addition has now been added to this extended pond, which is more water volume. And that was, you know, really not part of the plan before, although they were going to empty that water onto private property. So, you know, I have come to the realization that I have to represent or choose, I guess, between two evils. And so I have acknowledged that the current design, I hope it works like, you know, I was told this one was going to. So it's a matter of, over time, watching it and studying it and seeing what it actually does, because water's going to do what it wants to do. And finally, while that pond is extended and a new drain put in the back on the south end, and the drain onto my property is raised in favor of what I understood to be a 6-inch pipe, the plan, or their plan, was to block that completely off during the construction phases. And I would like the council to consider that it be left open, as it would be functioning like it is when the homeowners association owns it, so we can see over time, the next year or so while they're building houses, the true effect of that. So we're not surprised at the end of this thing when they're long gone. Because I would like to watch that water and see at what point in time it starts draining across my property from that particular drain if it's not completely removed. And I think that's fair. I'm not as concerned about some of the talk about the silt. I know that's a bad thing too, but the water is what's eroded my property. And if we don't get to watch and see what that's going to do when it starts to rain heavily and start draining, then, you know, we're all going to get surprised again. So if it doesn't work right. So I would request that that be left open, and that the city, if we go forward with this approval, that the city triple checks what they're doing over there as far as the elevations and the depth and the width of that pond. Thank you.
Thank you, Bo. Just a second, sir. Do we, Mr. Attorney, do we need to move forward on this discussion item before I open up for public discussion?
Excuse me.
Yes, ma'am. We're recessed for 5 minutes.